Create with Fran Sydney. Hello everyone, welcome to the show. We are going forward and in 2 weeks it's gonna be Christmas. So are we going to talk about something Christmassy? Anyway, yes, we are going to talk about light. How does light deprivation affect us? Is it important to have light in our life? And this is really from a physiological point of view. We're not talking about spiritual stuff here, but you might want to make your own connections here. Light is very important for life and for happiness. And we're going to talk about light. Can light be a therapy as well? Tune in to find out a little bit more. So we're going to talk about rats to talk about light. Now don't go away, just one of his studies. So, can light affect your mood and even make you go down into depression and even make you suffer from SAD, SAD, seasonal affective disorder? This could be the case if you've noticed, for example, that you're normally happy or just fine, depending on what's going on in your life, but you're just a balanced person and you don't have major problems and you haven't been in a tragic situation and yet suddenly you're feeling sad. About 15 years ago, a study was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, and it was the result of experiments done with rats by neuroscientists that were working and researching at the University of Pennsylvania in the United States. So what this bunch of people did, they say, hey, why don't we keep some rats in the dark for 6 weeks? And their findings were really interesting. First of all, the behavior of these rats changed. Remember, they are highly intelligent animals. They're not just rodents as you might assume. They are really good and they have affection and they show everything. So it was very clear that they were depressed. But when they did more searching, the neuroscientists found out that there was some damage that was suffered in the brain regions that are known to be underactive in the humans when humans are depressed. So that is quite interesting because we're very similar to rats. The observation made by the researcher was that there were 3 types of neurotransmitters that because the dark environment was there for 6 weeks, these neurotransmitters, they were just dying. And serotonin and dopamine, yes. And norepinephrine, yes. And why this neuron death? There was something wrong there. And the connection of the synapses, there was compromised as well. So there was something, a mechanism going on. And this could be the same mechanism that is underlying the darkness-related blues of SAD, seasonal affective disorder. So that was very interesting. And I want to talk about it for a little bit more. In fact, you might want to know what was the conclusion of the study. So the principal investigator, Gary Aston Jones, if you want to look him up, he made his own conclusion. He said, well, it could be that because the rats were kept in the dark, the body clock was disrupted. So the circadian system was not receiving the light that tells you that's morning, that's night, and because of that, the brain system had to change, and that changed the regulation of the mood. And of course, they, being researchers, what they did, they then treated the rats with antidepressants, and they noticed the change and the stress differences. Now, I'm not going to suggest that when winter comes and we are in a month like this, December, that we should all head for antidepressant. This is not at all my way of seeing life. We shouldn't go for chemicals if there is a seasonal affective disorder. Instead, there are different ways of looking at this and understanding that sometimes we might feel in low of energy, low in mood, very simply because we have not been out of the house. We have not been in the sunshine at all. Or maybe even if it's dark outside, we might not realize that there is a lot more light outside when it's dark than there is in the house, even with the light on. And we need that light. Our retina has to pick up that light and pass it to the brain to tell us when it's time to be awake and when the organs are working and when it's time to sleep. It's very, very important. So if it's your situation in this moment to feel sluggish and slow because, winter is starting and it's getting dark, and of course you do know that the days will start growing again after the 22nd of December, which I just cannot wait for that day when I can count in 1 minute a day more of light. But we have to be in that light. And so some people, some very nice people at Harvard, they did a lot of study to see if postnatal depression and perinatal depression, and not just SAD, maybe could it be possible that they could be treated with the opposite? If I have a problem because it's dark, could it be that the people suffering from this could get better with light? And here it comes, light therapy, something that has been around since at least the 80s. But we in Britain, we know very well that how many of us are, every year going to the Mediterranean countries, even the country where I'm from, which is Italy, Spain, or maybe the Bahamas, even more far away, to get the sunshine in winter. Those who can afford it can, but those who cannot afford it, So there must be another way of finding this light in our day, because the light is what our body needs every day. And did I mention chocolate as well? Yes, we need chocolate as well, but that's only my personal point of view. It's nothing professional behind my idea that chocolate is necessary for happiness. Okay, let's move on now. Okay, Francis, calm me down. So let's talk about light therapy. What is it? It's just basically sitting for about half an hour a day in the morning to a very special light source. And if you do that, it's apparently very, very good to fight depression. Especially depression in winter, but even if you're pregnant. So we're talking about a woman that is pregnant or just had a baby and thinking, I'm very sluggish. Sometimes it's really the one thing that can help her is the light. So the important thing is, I wanted to quote, because there is a guy called Dr. Richard Schwartz, I hope I pronounced this correctly, he's associate professor of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School, and he was saying in this article I found that whether we're talking about seasonal or non-seasonal depression, the effectiveness of light therapy is pretty much the same as antidepressant medications or even CBT, which is a form of psychotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. So that's interesting. Even though the evidence is different from every study, all these therapies can improve the symptoms in the people who are suffering from this depression. Between about 40-60% of them, they can get better. So amazing. If you can combine this light therapy with something else that can help you, why not? So what happens, especially in the higher hemisphere, like here in England, is that you have a drop in your exposure to the sunlight, right? You're always indoors, it's cold, you might forget to go out, it's just not very nice, you get busy. By the time you remember, I should be going out, it's 4 o'clock, it's dark. And you don't want to go out in the dark because it's not pleasurable, but also because the light that you really want is not there. So this will have an effect of all your system, not just the circadian clock, but what happens because of a clock that is not regulated properly. So when this one is not working to the proper speed, then our sleep cycle and our wake cycle is disrupted, and also you will see that your digestion is not working right, the hormones are not right. There are lots of functions in your body that do not work properly when this 24-hour circadian clock is not working. And what is important is that we have in our eye some little portions that are very sensitive to the light. These are the parts that actually pick up vitamin D from sun rays and give it to our brain. And it's very important for eyesight, for a very clear eyesight. We should be in the sun with closed eyes, of course, and but not with sunglasses, which apparently are really bad. Amazing. So we know that these receptors that we have in the retina talk to the brain, and it's all very complex, so I'm not going to go down all the things, but there are some discoveries from a scientist, very recent. They have discovered additional nerve pathways from a light receptors that are in the retina to different parts of the brain. So the prefrontal cortex, for example, it's important. It's connected to the light receptor, and it is in the prefrontal cortex that you regulate the mood and your cognition. So wow, that's a lot of stuff that happens if you are in the dark, just like the rats in that Pennsylvania experiment. So because when you are setting your circadian clock with a light, you are affecting the high functioning areas of your own brain, that's why you can see that if you have light therapy, you can lift not only depression but other issues that are affecting you. So what is the characteristic of light therapy? Is that it's a very attractive alternative to medication and to the typical chemical thing, and because there are of course some very serious side effects to medication, so you have to note that there is always something bad that can happen because you're taking an antidepressant. So you shouldn't just go and get them just like that without prescription, without a very serious reason. So you should discuss with your doctor, etc. Not just take them because you're feeling sad. And so it's important to see that even psychiatrists who, might be the ones that tend to prescribe something like this, they're actually telling you, well, there is something like light therapy that makes sense because it will reduce your use of medication and it will help, especially if you are older and maybe you don't have much mobility, or you are spending so much time watching television in a dimly lit living room, overheated, just sitting there and feeling like you're almost dead because it's dark. So let's go to the crunch. What can you actually do? Well, you need a light box that emits 10,000 lux, L-U-X. So that's how you measure the intensity of this light. This light box is not something I have in my house, but I would love to try that. And you have to just sit in front of this light for about 30 minutes every morning, as soon as possible after you wake up. And it's just important that they, because there isn't a regulation, that you buy one that has certain specifications. And there is a Center for Environmental Therapeutics, which does research on light boxes. And so you could check that. But, they cost $100 to $200, so probably, I don't know how many pounds is that. But, you translate that in your own currency and we'll see what happens. But maybe somebody has it, a beautician might have it, a hairdresser might have it, or a clinic might have it. So you can always ask where you can find that light box if there is no sunshine at all in your area. And you have to place it slightly off to the side of you or just in front of you. You never look directly at the light, but keep your eyes open. And while you're doing that, you can read, you can work on the computer, you can watch television on it normally. And that is probably a lot cheaper than going all the way to the Bahamas, although in Bahamas you can also swim, which is quite a thing. Anyway, and there is something about light therapy and bipolar disorder. So they do suggest to consult your psychiatrist just in case it might trigger a manic episode. So, it is also possible when you're starting antidepressants. So you should always look at your doctor and what he says. And I'm just, talk about a Harvard article. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I can already tell you, just go and buy a box. But, if you walk in the sunshine, that is allowed and it's free. How does that work? When you're feeling down, when you're feeling depressed and you don't know why, sometimes just going outside can give the same benefit of light therapy. In fact, Dr. Schwartz says that a bright sunny day is about 50,000 lux and a gray day is about 10,000 of them. So strolling outside just after sunrise or even on a cloudy day will give you almost the same amount of light exposure as a light box. And it's free. So when you are in a sunny day, you can just go out and you can have a lovely therapeutic effect, even if you have to wear sunglasses, of course. And if you walk for 30 minutes, that's going to be so good because you're also doing exercise. You're moving, you're getting a circulation going, and that is amazing. However, we do understand that for some people it is not possible to go outside and to move too much, but maybe we can sit by the window and open the window to get the light. Remember that the glass that is in the windows filters a lot of what you actually need. So I think that there are lots of good things about light therapy. And I would like to know, have you ever tried to see the difference in your mood when you are in the dark all the time and when you come out? I do remember that when I first came to England, I found it really interesting that when it was cloudy, it just stayed like that for days on end. And then it was sunny and it would just stay. That was in London, where there was like his own microclimate. But over here in East Anglia, you get those days that are cloudy. You might spend an entire week without seeing the sun properly. So it's so important for us to get the coat on, put the gloves on, even if it's -3 now, just go outside. Do something, maybe bring the wood back into your house for your wood burner, or maybe, I'm not saying go and wash your car, that's not really the right time. Or if you have a dog, go outside, go and do the shopping, walk if it's nearby, do something, go see your neighbor, because this is really what makes us to tick and to know that you are awake, and even just walking your kids to school when it's possible, and if it's not incredibly cold, why not? Sometimes it's way faster than going in the car, because after you park your car, you still have to walk miles to go to the school because everyone else is parked, so there is no space. So I would say, yes, it's a great thing that we can do. It's free, be outside and feel amazing. It's a nice prescription I would love to follow. And do you know how this idea came to me? It was about 3 weeks ago when we realized we were going to miss the bus because my car was frozen and we could not open the door. It was just shut. And we tried all the ice melting techniques and all the liquids, nothing. So we said, you know what, we're just going to walk to the bus stop, which was about 15 minutes walk away if you walked and ran. So we went and it was 0. And we went really fast, and as we were going, I thought, this is amazing. You know, it was sunny, it was cold, and I felt invigorated. And you know, I'm late 50s. It's not that I'm 20 years old, and I was going as fast as my daughter, who is about almost 15 now. And when I dropped her at the bus stop, and then I went back home. It was quite a walk, but I felt, right, I could do this every day. This is amazing, although I didn't really like all the traffic. But it was so good to just walk outside, get a light, and I felt energetic for the whole day. And I loved it. And yes, I was covered up and everything, but by the time I got home, I was so warm. Everything was working. I didn't need my workout because I was feeling brilliant. So sometimes life seems to be very complicated. I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't go to the gym, I can't go to the Bahamas, I cannot go to light therapy, I'm feeling so depressed, or I can't do that. Okay, but sometimes we can all take 10 minutes outside. We can walk, we can take a few steps. By doing that, we can get the lovely sunshine or light in our retina to get our circadian cycle sorted out and all balanced so we can sleep better, we can use our muscles, we can remember what it's like to breathe fresh air, hopefully not polluted, and maybe improve our mental health a little bit more. So that was my message for the day. Everyone outside, if you would like to, and let's see you all out there. Enjoy yourself. Thank you for listening to me. It's gonna be such a pleasure to hear your thoughts about the show, and maybe you would like to share it with somebody that you are friends with and say, hey, this is a Create with France, it's gonna be fun to listen to, here we go, and share the link. It's always something good. Share and click subscribe to my YouTube channel where you can also listen to the episode on the go. And there will be a little Christmas break, I think, in a week or so, but I'm gonna be always back. So check this, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye. You have listened to Create with France Sydney.